Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I am going to share a Bible journaling process as I work through the His Name Will Be devotional kit from BytheWell4God. I believe this is still available. Some of the products may be sold out, but I will link as much as I can down below for you guys. And I just wanted to pop in. I will not be working entirely through this kit on camera as well as the other Advent kits I'm doing. I'll just kind of periodically pop in and show you here and there some processes. So if you picked up this kit, you can kind of get some ideas and just see how I'm working through it. So today I'm working on day 4, which is His Name Will Be Branch. And we are looking at Jeremiah 23:5. Jeremiah is one of my favorite books to read through. There's so many good little nuggets, and just the thread of Jesus runs so strong through Jeremiah. And so Jeremiah 23:5 says, "Look, the days are coming," this is the Lord's declaration, "when I will rise up a righteous branch for David. He will reign wisely as king and administer justice and righteousness in the land." And that righteous branch that he's going to raise up will be Jesus. And so here you can see all the way back in the Old Testament, we are already foreseeing the coming of Christ, which I just love that we get to see that through the Old Testament. So I've pulled out a couple different stamp sets. I've got the stamp set that comes with the kit. I'm going to use this His Name Will Be stamp. And then there's branch, which is kind of specifically set up for this one, but there's a lot of cute imagery that you can use with other verses as well. But I'm going to use this His Name Will Be branch, and then I think I'm going to use this little tree there, and that's as far as I've thought ahead. I might use the little lanterns, not quite sure how I'm going to color everything in. We're just going to kind of wing it and put this together. I am working in the Illustrating Bible, which is sold out in most places. I will link it down below so that you can kind of hunt for it, but you could probably adapt this to work with a smaller margin as well, or create a tip-in if that's what you want to do. So I would encourage you to at least pick up the devotional kit just for the devotional alone. There's some great information about all the different names of Jesus, and not just your typical standard names that we're familiar with, but just some really neat ones pointed out. Like this one here, I never had heard this passage before or had it pointed out specifically during Christmas, or with names of Jesus. So I'm excited to document that. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on fast forward, and we will put this page together. Okay, so I've gone ahead and flipped my Bible around so it's just the page that I'm working on that's flat on the table. Since I'm doing a lot of stamping, it's kind of the nice thing about the Illustrating Bible is I can do this, and then I know I'm going to get nice, crisp, stamped images. So I am working on an unprepped page, but I didn't really have much bleed through since the pages are thicker in this Bible. And I've pulled out this branch stamp. Now, you can kind of adapt this scene. I'm going to create like a little stamped scene. You can adapt it for a smaller Bible by using like colored inks to stamp with. And then that way when you stamp over the top of your text, you should still be able to see your text through your stamping. So this conveniently works in this wider margin, but you can always adapt things to work in any of your Bibles. So you can see the branches do kind of go over the top of the text, but I'm still able to, for the most part, make out what the text says. Now, this Bible is not the Bible that I read and study from, so it's not the end of the world if something gets covered up, but I do try to stick to that margin since it is a pretty big margin. So I've gone ahead and kind of spaced out those little birch tree trunks, I guess, and then I'm gonna place this string of lanterns and lights in between, and so this is gonna create this nice little scene at the bottom where my title is gonna be. So I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is a really nice deep black that is waterproof once it's dry, and it gives me the most crisp images when I stamp with it. So this is my favorite one to stamp with. Going to go ahead and move on to the title part. So I pulled out, this is the stamp set that comes with the kit itself, and then I've also pulled out that word branch from the branch stamp set. And this is all going to nestle just perfectly down underneath those lanterns. So once again, just making sure that everything lines up, and then I will be stamping with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. But again, like I said, you could stamp this with a variety of colored inks, like pale colored inks, and then if you do stamp over the text, you would still be able to read the text. So I haven't really done a whole lot of stamping or stamped scenes like this recently, and so I thought it'd be fun just to, since there's so many adorable new stamps out over at BytheWell4God, and some of you may have picked up a lot of these during their recent sale for the holidays, so I wanted to put them to work. And I'm carefully kind of laying my stamp out where I want it and then positioning my block so that it's square with the edges of the page. That way when I go to stamp it, I can make sure that my word is straight and isn't all wonky. So I'm just kind of taking my time as I stamp that out. And then I did go ahead off camera and heat set everything just to make sure that that ink is dry. And then I decided to color it in super quickly with brush markers. So this is the Faber-Castell brush markers. I will, you can find the color swatches for this kit over on the blog post that I did. But I'm just kind of picking a variety of colors. Some of these colors are in the smaller brush markers because I don't have them in the larger brush markers, but they're the same colors whether you get them in the small or the big. And I just picked a warm gray to kind of add some line detail to those trees. If you've seen birch trees, they kind of have these, they're like white with lines, so I kind of colored in those lines. And then snow is not stark white. If you look at snow, it's got blues and grays and things like that. So I kind of colored in blues and grays for the snow down there. And then I'm just going in and coloring everything in. That's kind of the nice thing about coloring with these brush markers is it goes super, super quick. Of course, this is sped up quite a bit. That way you don't have to see me sit and color in everything. But markers are probably the fastest way to put a page together. And as long as you're careful to not oversaturate the page, they don't bleed through, especially in this illustrating Bible with the thicker pages. I don't have any issues with bleed through with these markers. I'm going to use that same warm gray for the candle, and then for the little jars that they're in, I'm just adding little line detail with the blue. I'm not fully coloring it in. I'm just kind of being really sketchy and loose with how I color this image in. I could have gone into detail and added a background and all that goodness, but I decided just to keep it easy. I am going back in and kind of darkening up the ground. At the very end, I'll go back in here and darken up those lines on the birch trees and just kind of add some detail here. But the stamping took a good amount of time, just getting everything lined up. So at this point, I'm wanting to be fairly quick. This is Merry Christmas. This is a set from last year. I'm not sure if this is still available, but I want to remind you, pull it out. It's got these really cute little snowflakes in it. The new sets this year have snowflakes as well, but they are kind of grouped together, and this has individual snowflakes. So I pulled out some Delicata Gold pigment ink, and I'm just stamping these little snowflakes, and this is going to kind of act as my background as opposed to like actually coloring in a sky. And now I can go in and add some little line detail so it looks like those lights are tied around those trees. I'm just using a black pen for that, adding little bows. At this point, it's just kind of finishing up some detail. And now I'm going to go ahead and use all of that space at the top to take notes from the devotional. So I'm using a T-ruler to draw myself in some lines since these are unlined margins. And when I work through the BytheWell4God devotionals, I like to take a lot of notes since there's so much information in the devotionals. So you can see here, I went and took a bunch of the information from this day 4 devotional and copied that directly into the margin of this entry. I've pulled out, this is a fabric clippy from one of the past kits, and I'm kind of deconstructing it and using a wider paper clip just to fill in some of that space at the top there. I do like to retie them this way so the bows are a little bit flatter and sit on top of the page. And before I stick that to the page, I always put washi tape underneath it to reinforce the page so it doesn't get torn. So I'm just looking at my Christmas washies and picking this one here. I believe it's from Target last year. It was just gray, so it kind of went with the grays that I used for the coloring down there. And that is it for the entry. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. Check out the description box for links to everything used in the video today. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.